just want to give to you the perfect gift today.
So the title of my talk today is The Pandemic is Healing. And before I get into the main body of that, I want to acknowledge the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I'm sure all of you know her. She was a justice on the Supreme Court, been a longstanding, very liberal justice, and she made her transition. She passed on Friday evening, and she is known for all of her landmark decisions and cases about making sure that men and women and all people had equality under the law. There were two recent movies about Ms. Ginsburg. One of them was a documentary named RBG, and that came out in 2018, and it was nominated for Best Documentary. I don't think it won the Academy Award, but it was nominated, a great documentary. There was also another movie that came out also in 2018 that was a dramatic film, and the name of that film was On the Basis of Sex. And that was a little later in 2018, and it starred Felicity Jones, who's a very accomplished, well-known actress, and that one was really, I thought, very, very good. So if you haven't seen these movies, and especially maybe if you haven't seen On the Basis of Sex, it's really interesting because it really follows Ms. Ginsburg very early in her career, and it follows her before she was a justice on the Supreme Court, and when she was arguing her first case to the Supreme Court. And her first case on the Supreme Court was a case called Moritz versus the Commissioner. It was a tax law case, and she argued that in 1970. So you got to realize that's 50 years ago. And Moritz was a single man in Denver who had hired nurses and a nursing service to take care of his ailing mother so that he could continue to work. And he wanted to be able to get a tax exemption for the monies that he had to pay for the nursing services. But the way the law read, women could do this because women were seen to be the caregivers. But the law didn't say anything specifically about single men being able to do this, but single women could. So he was denied the tax exemption. So the Ginsburgs, both Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her husband, took up the case and took it all the way to the Supreme Court. So she was arguing a sex discrimination case, but she was arguing it on the basis of the man being discriminated against because he was a man. But it was a landmark case because it was the first major sex discrimination case that had gone up to the Supreme Court. And so when the Supreme Court decided in favor, that was a landmark decision that was used for many other decisions. So she was nominated to the Supreme Court by Bill Clinton in 1993, and she was accepted by a record vote of 96-3. She was approved by a vote of 96-3, which is an amazing number of people to approve. So she has served on the Supreme Court for all these years, 37 years. And the last thing I want to say about Ms. Ginsburg is that she died on Friday evening, which is the evening before Rosh Hashanah, which is a holy Jewish holiday celebrating the new year. And it's celebrated starting the evening before. So she passed in the midst of the celebration of Rosh Hashanah. And this is considered very important in the Jewish faith, that if somebody passes during a high holy day, it's considered very significant. So I just wanted to affirm all that she did. And it was very unifying. I saw people from the left and the right talk about Ms. Ginsburg and talk about her very favorably and acknowledge all that she had accomplished. I saw the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, when he was told that Ms. Ginsburg passed. He said something very positive about Ms. Ginsburg. And people from the left and the right were all saying very positive things about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so I thought it really brought together people. So if you want to celebrate her memorial, we're probably not going to be able to get to her memorial, most of us, but watch that movie on the basis of sex and think about the person that she was and all that she accomplished in her life. I mean, just the fact that people are focused on this and the Supreme Court now, and if we're going to fill this vacancy, in some ways shows me that the pandemic is indeed healing. The pandemic is indeed healing. We're willing to talk about other things, and I think that's just tremendous. So this week also had the milestone. On Tuesday, it was 6 months, 1/2 year, 26 weeks of shelter in place. We started our shelter in place order on Tuesday, March 17th. And that being the milestone, I do want to report that I really felt this week in particular a shifting of the energy about the pandemic, a shifting away from the fearful energy. I am sensitive to those kinds of things. I don't talk about those kinds of woo-woo things very much, but I feel energies, and I just felt the fear was really lessening. On Friday, I was walking down the street and I walked by a small hair salon and looked in, and there was a hair cutter, a hairstylist cutting the hair of a patron in the chair inside. And so this has only been possible here in San Francisco this past week. So, and I just looked at them and I just felt their happiness. I felt the happiness of the hairdresser, the hair cutter cutting the hair. I felt the happiness of the person in the chair getting their hair cut. And it just was terrific. Gyms opened up this week. And I want to give a shout out to our own Reverend Tedosio, because he posted a picture of him at his gym and said that it really felt good to be working out. And he had one picture with his mask on and one picture with his mask off. I wouldn't have known the gyms had actually opened had I not seen that picture of Reverend Ted. So that was great. I felt his happy energy. This coming Tuesday, the San Francisco de Young Museum will open up for members. And then on Friday, it actually opens up to the public. So, things are opening up. And that for me is really that lessening of fear that I've been feeling, and it just permeated my being. It permeated my being so much, you can ask Reverend Peter, that I've been cleaning a lot. I just, I like to clean. Cleaning actually resonates with me with joy. And the other day, just mopping the kitchen floor, I was just so happy mopping the kitchen floor, and I was so happy getting the mold off the shower curtain. I just felt that. And also some night this week, I don't know, it was Thursday or Friday, Reverend Peter was in the TV room and he was watching basketball on TV. And I'm not particularly a sports fan, but I wanted to celebrate sports returning. So I watched a little basketball with him. It was really interesting because they've got some sort of strange video projection that makes it look like people are in the stands, sort of, symbolically, except they're doing it really creatively, and some of the people have really big heads. They're not all at the same magnification. So it's really kind of interesting how they're doing it. And then they have recorded audio of fans clapping and getting excited to make the sporting event seem more realistic. And I was thinking about, wow, they must have, that's got to be really elaborate. They've got somebody there with dials because they got to turn it up at the appropriate time when somebody might be doing something that the people would get excited about. And they got to make the fans seem like they're responding with an appropriate amount of sound. And I just thought, again, it was just another indication that there is less fear going on in our world, in our culture. And less fear to me means the pandemic is healing. The Course says the only thing that is required for a healing is a lack of fear. The fearful are not healed and cannot heal. So when there's less fear, we are healing. And there is less fear right now, and I feel that we are healing. As a way of, signifying and giving witness to the 6-month anniversary of Shelter in Place, I put up a longer post than I usually do on all my Facebook, A Course in Miracles groups, and on my Facebook pages. And I talked a little bit about how, I've had an interesting relationship to the Shelter in Place order. That in truth, I never really sheltered. I always went to work. And in truth, while I wear masks where I am required, I don't wear a mask when I'm just walking down the street outside or in my car. And some people have called me a plague rat because of that, because in their minds, I am like a rat during the Middle Ages spreading the bubonic plague. And I just wanted to share, how I don't accept that. I appreciate that people are going to do whatever they're going to do, but I do not accept the definition of myself as a plague rat. I had a lot of Course in Miracles quotes. Now, the miracle, though, for me about this was I got more support for this perspective than I have for many of the things that I have posted recently on Facebook, especially things about the pandemic. And though, there was some people who were critical of it, and I always allow the criticisms. This post of mine got shared by more people on their own Facebook profiles page than probably anything I've ever shared on Facebook. And that, again, to me, was another indication that the fear is ratcheting down. A lot of the things that I post on Facebook are really just about lessening the fear of the pandemic and the fear of the coronavirus. And sometimes that gets pushback, but this one got less pushback and actually more support with more sharing. And I shared about how I always went into the office because I always knew churches were essential, even though the government didn't necessarily support that. I answered to a higher authority, and I just went into the office because I knew that the churches were essential. A Course in Miracles says, only you can be the foundation of God's church. So if only me can be the foundation of God's church, then it was essential that I go do the essential church business. So I just saw it as a form of witnessing my own healing, witnessing the ratcheting down of fear. A Course in Miracles says, your witnessing demonstrates your belief and thus strengthens it. Those who witness for me are expressing through their miracles that they have abandoned the belief in deprivation in favor of the abundance they have learned belongs to them. So I have been witnessing, and I have been witnessing my own lack of fear, and I have been witnessing now the lack of fear that I am seeing out there, and the increased ease that I'm seeing with people moving around. So there's something else significant. It's actually going on right now. In fact, I was really tempted, if I didn't have the Sunday gathering to be here and participate in, I'd probably be out in downtown San Francisco, because right now the Catholic Archdiocese of San Francisco is having a big demonstration, a big rally, and they call it part of the Free the Mass movement. And it's being organized by the Catholic Archbishop of San Francisco, whose name is Salvatore Cardileone. You think he's Italian? Salvatore Cardileone. And the way that this particular demonstration is going to participate, and he's demonstrating the fact that he feels the city is being too restrictive about how it's dealing with churches, and his churches in specific, the Catholic churches, but churches in general, because up until last week, they only allowed outdoor services for 12 people max Didn't matter how large of a parking lot you had, and no indoor services at all. So starting this week, they can have outdoor services for 50 people, but they still can't have any indoor services. So Archbishop Cardellone feels this is discrimination. And so their rally today, it's starting at 3 different large Catholic churches, St. Anthony's, St. Dominic's, and St. Patrick's. So people are going to meet there, the Catholic faithful and whoever else wants to join them. And then they're all going to go to the UN Plaza. And they're going to meet the Archbishop there at UN Plaza. They're going to make some sort of public demonstration there. And then they're all going to walk the few blocks to go to St. Mary's Cathedral, which is the big Catholic cathedral in San Francisco, the one that's real, looks like a big washing machine agitator, the real modern looking one. And they are going to have multiple outdoor masses all around in their parking lot. And they're going to practice the regulations. So the masses are going to be 50 people maximum. They're going to practice social distancing. They're going to hand out masks. So they are doing everything that they are supposed to do, but they're expecting 800 people, he said. And then the Archbishop himself is going to issue the homily, the sermon. And he said in the press release for this, it says, the procession and the masses will be our witness to our unity of faith in the diversity of our cultures, united as one in the body of Christ. And so I just loved that. I thought, the unity of faith in the diversity, unity in the diversity. And I think, yeah, it's what Community Miracle Center stands for too, unity in the diversity. I know that many of our faithful have not liked some of the things I've been talking about for the past couple of months too. But we're still the Community Miracle Center, and we're still Course in Miracles students, and we have unity in the diversity of our thoughts and feelings. And we don't let the diversity cut us off from that feeling of oneness that we have. I want to read something else from Archbishop Cardelloni's press release. He says, San Francisco is the most restrictive county in the entire country when it comes to public worship. But the state of California is not much better. This is an overreach of the government into the life of the church and the infringement on our right to worship as protected in the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And I read that and I thought, he sounds just like me. And I was, I connected to it. And so I just want to just honor what the Catholic Church or the Archdiocese of San Francisco is doing. Apparently, when they go from UN Plaza to St. Mary's, they're all going to be carrying banners. And the banners are going to be in 3 different languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese. And the banners are going to say, we are essential, free the mass. And I just think their ability to do that, their willingness to do that, the Archbishop's willingness to do that is another indication that the fear level of the pandemic itself is lessening. And if people are willing to organize, if religious leaders are willing to organize this level of demonstration, to me, it shows that the fear level is lessening. And I think it's great that we can listen to all of these people. We don't mean we have to change our views, but we need to expose ourselves to the views of others. And I want to give a shout out to our own Reverend Garrick, because he said something on Facebook this past week that I really liked. I copied it down, and it showed me, yeah, okay, there are people who have been listening to what I've been saying. And he said, the only way to understand is to be among those you misunderstand. So the only way to understand is to be among those you misunderstand. You have to be willing to open up and listen to the other point of view. But it takes a lessening of the fear in order to do that. But if we can't listen to the other side, we're never going to be able to have a real effective meaningful dialogue with the other side. And so we're never going to be able to move together in unity to come up with healing and solutions. I said something recently. I wrote it. I'm just going to read it instead of trying to requote it. Okay, so it's this. It says, I labeled it as politics and spirituality. One of my favorite topics. Both conventions are now over, and I watched as much as I could of both conventions. I really tried this year. It was my guidance. I needed to not just watch the convention of the party that I tend to resonate with. I actually needed to watch as much of the conventions as I could of the party that I don't resonate with. That would be good for me. That would be my challenge, to see if I could stay open-minded and find things that I liked, find commonalities, to stay immersed in the process with a creative, open mind. I think pretty much I was successful. So I think it's so important to be able to listen to the other side. And I did that with the conventions. I watched as much as I could of both the conventions. However, just now, I lied to you. I didn't recently say that. I said that 8 years ago. I said that 8 years ago and wrote an article about it 8 years ago called Politics and Spirituality that's on the CMC website. And I said that about the 2012 election between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. So some people think that I've somehow changed, that I'm saying different things now than I have said before, that somehow I've taken the red pill and I have changed. But I read that to you all to show you that I've not really changed. This is the same ideas. These are the same ideas. Being open to the other side, being able to say what the other side thinks. These are the same ideas that I've been saying for many, many years. I certainly said it and put it in print in 2012. So if what I have been saying, which is the same thing, is bothering some of you, just know that it wasn't me that changed. It was you that changed. If it's bothering you today, and if it's bothering you for the past few months, but it didn't bother you 12 years ago, somehow you're the one that changed. What I say, I don't believe is really that much different. I think we have to be open to all sides, and that's the way our fear gets ratcheted down. I know a lot of people on both sides, because I hear both sides. They are scared shitless if their side doesn't win the election. The Republicans think it's going to be the end of the world if the Democrats win. The Democrats think it's going to be the end of the world if President Trump gets elected for another 4 years. And you know what? You probably will have that attitude unless you can open yourself up and listen to the other side. And that's the way that we ratchet down the fear that's going on. And that's how I believe we're healers. And that's how we can be miracle healers. And that is, I believe, what I have always said. So get out of your fear bubble, whatever it may be, in case you are still in one. Celebrate a little about Ruth Ginsburg. You know, watch On the Basis of Sex and put yourself in her point of view. It's a great movie. Go to the museum when it opens up this week and just enjoy art and culture. Go to a gym like Reverend Ted. I think Reverend Peter went to the gym too. Go to a gym. I know it's a little bit of a hassle. You got to make an appointment. They only give you a certain amount of time, but you know, it's our start. Go get a haircut. I know Reverend Garrick went and got a haircut this past week. Watch some sports. You know, start having less and less fear and more normalcy and enjoyment about your life, and celebrate with me that the pandemic is indeed healing. Okay, that's my talk for today. Thank you very much.
I just want to give to you the perfect gift today.